Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 13 Pro Max and compare it against the iPhone 13 Pro and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, the funny thing is, between both these two devices, clearly the Pro Max is the bigger one and the Pro is the smaller one. There's really not too many other differences besides the size of the display and the battery size. Beyond that, both these phones are very, very similar. I'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video, but if you do want to pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, on the front of the iPhone 13 Pro, you're getting a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's 1170p, and it was a very good panel when it first came out. This was actually the phone that I previously owned before my 15 Pro, and I used that phone for like almost 2 years, and I had a very good time with it. It was a beautiful phone, has a really nice panel, and the fact that these phones are giving you 120Hz are very, very good things. I like having these phones because they are giving you that type of capability, and this in and of itself is a very awesome thing going on for this particular phone. Now, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, on the other hand, this is a little bit of a bigger device. So with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, this phone is 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this is a significantly bigger panel, and it's not just like a little smaller difference. This is a pretty big difference. And if you're somebody who has smaller hands like myself, you might be running into some issues where this phone just really isn't that, comfortable to hold in the hand. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world if you can kind of get used to it. And I used to use a Plus phone and I was okay with it. But if you're talking about getting like a big phone, this is a big phone that you're going to run into lots and lots of issues with, without a doubt. So this in and of itself definitely is I like both these phones. They both have, ProMotion displays and everything. But I do think the iPhone 13 Pro is the one that's just a tiny bit more comfortable for me when it kind of comes down to it. So that right there, thumbs up for me for sure. The bottoms, they both have lightning ports on the bottom, which is very nice. Flat sides as well with SIM card trays. These were the last iPhones basically to have SIM card trays, which is actually pretty insane. So when it comes down to that, I mean, you're probably going to be, once again, getting a better phone on something like the iPhone 13s than in some other devices. But these ones are still maintaining those SIM card trays, which is very nice. On the backside, you're getting that frosted plastic back, which is very nice to have. Once again, I like having frosted glass backs, not plastic. These are frosted glass backs. The triple camera setups are back there too with the LiDAR sensors. Still don't really use the LiDAR sensors too much, but it's still nice to have. And you're still maintaining MagSafe on both these phones with the MagSafe accessories. You have wireless charging, lots and lots of overlap here. There really isn't like one crazy big difference over the other one. But what I can definitely tell you is when it comes down to it, both these phones are doing a really good job in a lot of different ways. And I really don't feel like one phone is like significantly better than the other one. It's just the iPhone 13 Pro is just a little bit more comfortable for me to hold in the hand than for something like the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So that kind of covers it up there. From the price tag wise, this is another big thing. The iPhone 13 Pro Max in the used market right now is costing about like $550-ish, maybe a little bit cheaper or more expensive depending on where you look. The iPhone 13 Pro, on the other hand, is costing less than $500 in a majority of places, closer to about $480-ish. So that right there can be another big thing too. If you're wanting a phone that can give you a little bit of a better experience, again, it really just comes down to the price tag. But keep in mind that the iPhone 13 Pro will pretty much always be a little bit cheaper than something like the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, in terms of the camera side of things, like I said before, both these phones are giving you triple camera setups on the backside, and they are almost identically the same type of camera. They're the same type of camera lenses. I think they're the same exact size. There really isn't that big of a difference here at all when it comes down to it. But that could be a good thing as well. So both these phones are giving you 4K at 60 on the front and the back of both of them, which is super nice to have. I love having that type of resolution to film in, and this is a very, very nice thing that you can kind of get. So that right there, I would say, first of all, is a really, really big, important thing going on for this particular device. On top of that, you were still maintaining that telephoto lens and that ultra-wide sensor as well. So this is something that I like a lot between both these phones, because you can actually go ahead and basically maintain that ultra-wide camera and that telephoto lens. You can basically go ahead and just, film whatever you need. And I would say the difference between these two phones and the current 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, there really isn't like this crazy big of a difference. Like you're actually getting a pretty similar type of experience with this type of phone, which is something that I actually like a lot. I feel like if I'm going through and getting a phone, I feel like either one of these will give me like a pretty good experience. And I think that's just kind of what happens when you're buying a phone like this. Like you're definitely getting a very, very good experience. If I had to pick one, I would clearly probably, there really isn't a clear answer here. they're both almost the same exact thing, and there really isn't. I mean, it used to be like the bigger ones would give you some features. This time it's not really that case. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. In terms of the software experience, it's basically the same exact thing you're getting here as well. So you're really not missing out on anything here when it comes down to it either. You are essentially getting the same type of experience when it comes down to this type of, experience. I mean, it's the same exact thing, which isn't really a bad thing. It just means that these phones are going to be lasting around the same time. And there's just like less and less differences when it comes down to both of these phones. Performance-wise, it's almost exactly the same thing as well. You are essentially getting the same type of performance from both of these phones, which is not a bad thing either. You are getting that Apple A15 body chip inside of both of these devices, which I think is actually very, very good. You're also getting 6GB of RAM in both these phones as well, which is again another big advantage. Now, the thing you have to remember with both these devices, in my personal opinion, is that for one, very good type of performance. I like having these types of phones because you're really not going to be missing out on anything from a performance side. Like, you're getting very good performance in every single thing that you could probably do, which is a very big asset. And if I'm going through and if I'm getting some sort of phone, I definitely want it to have as great of a performing chipset inside of it as possible. And this is pretty much no exception. You are basically getting that here, which is very, very nice to have. On top of that, with something like the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, you're still maintaining that 120Hz display, which again is another very, very cool thing to have. So if I'm going through, once again, and if I'm getting this type of chipset, again, I like it that I can do basically anything I'd ever want inside of this type of phone and be getting very, very good, performance from it. So I do think this in and of itself is a very, very cool, important thing going on for this particular device as well. On top of that, again, if you're talking about the differences from the performance, you're really not going to get any. I mean, there's just basically the same type of performance when it comes down to it. Battery life wise, this is probably the biggest difference between both. The iPhone 13 Pro is giving you a 3095 mAh battery. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is giving you a 4352 mAh battery. So this in and of itself, once again, is another probably very big difference when it comes down to both of these devices. Like, if you're wanting a bigger size battery with better battery life, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is probably going to be the one that's going to be giving you that better performance and better battery life. This in and of itself, I would say, is probably going to be, once again, one of the bigger differences here. Now, I think that's totally fine. That's going to be what's happening, but you are definitely going to be getting the better performing phone from the battery life perspective on the 13 Pro Max than on the iPhone 13 Pro. So when it comes down to it, what I can definitely tell you, both of these phones are very good. There's not really like insane differences between one or the other. You're definitely going to be getting, I would say, maybe some more features on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Like, that phone looks to me that it's probably going to be the better one in some ways when it kind of comes down to it. You're going to be getting a bigger display and bigger battery. But again, to some people that may be a con. Some people may not prefer having that type of battery. Some people may not prefer having that type of bigger sized, display if it means you are getting a bigger sized battery. And because the 13 Pro is cheaper, I think that might be a good starting point. Like, you may just want to go and start off with that one and then kind of see what happens after that. Because I do feel like, although both these phones are very good and everything, you might be better off getting something like the iPhone 13 Pro and then kind of going from there. So that's kind of how both these phones kind of compare. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.